The presidency has criticized former Vice-President Atiku Abubakar over what it describes as conflicting positions on petrol subsidy. Special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, says Atiku and his aides have offered different explanations of the policy within a week. Atiku has said he would restore a targeted subsidy to support Nigerians' purchasing power, while his aides have given differing accounts of how long the policy would last. The presidency is demanding clarity on the proposed subsidy, including its cost, beneficiaries, funding, and conditions for removal. It also argues that inflation is driven by factors beyond petrol prices. Let's get further perspective on this. Izielen Agbon is an energy and policy expert. He joins us for this conversation. Thank you, Prof, for being here. Is the presidency right to demand clarity on Atiku Abubakar's proposal to reintroduce targeted petrol subsidy, especially when they have their own plan? Would you say this is them listening to the opposition?
I think they are both wrong. They are both wrong. The president is not an economist, and Atiku's people, they are not economics. They are fighting over how do we manage the suffering of the poor, instead of focusing on the fact that the policy is completely wrong. There is no subsidy. There never was any subsidy. What the IMF did was to say that our petrol in Nigeria should be priced at international prices on the basis of import parity. That means we should assume that our crude oil is produced abroad, refined abroad, and imported into the country. Then that is the price that Nigerians should pay. When Nigerians do not pay that, says the IMF, we are having an implicit subsidy because we are paying the true production cost and refinery cost of our crude oil in Nigeria. So IMF rejected the production cost pricing method. This is the method that is used in the USA, Russia, China, and all over the world. But for developing countries, the IMF said, when you use production cost in your own country because you have oil, you are losing the advantage of selling it abroad. Therefore, the difference between importation price and production price is what they call an implicit subsidy. The truth of the matter is, in Nigeria, what we call subsidy have been nothing but corruption cost. The IMF now said, when you increase petrol prices, the IMF justify it by saying increase petrol prices as if you are importing the petrol into Nigeria. The difference between that imported price and the price if you have produced the petrol in Nigeria is what is called implicit subsidy. So increase the price. So they kept increasing the price every time they increase the price. But the IMF found out that it has a damaging effect on the poor. So the IMF put together a program which Nigerian government have been using, the Nigerian elite ruling class. The IMF said, develop the price increase, do a good communication, and make sure you explain it to your people. Make sure you increase the price little by little, what we call the boiling frog strategy. That is, you put a frog in boiling water, increase the temperature, it won't know. Then the IMF said, target the poor. Make sure you help the poor, because the impact on the poor will be terrible. And then depoliticize the energy prices. So Atiku is arguing with Tinubu about how to target the poor, because everybody knows that the poor is suffering, and increasing petroleum prices, petrol prices does not help the poor at all. It causes inflation.
Atiku is saying that the policy is really to support Nigeria's purchasing power. So the question would be, can a targeted petrol subsidy genuinely reduce the cost of living burden, or would it only provide temporary relief, especially looking at the fact that Onanuga is asking for clarity? His aides are saying something different, and he is saying something different.
The only thing that will help Nigerian poor people is to reduce petrol price to production cost method level. You use the production cost method to price the price of petrol. That means to reduce petrol prices. Targeted income, giving cash flow to the poor. This is reinvention of Shopee program that was run under Iweala and under Jonathan. You give money to the poor, you bring buses, CNG projects. These are all IMF suggestions. Buy buses, give money to the poor. This was done under Jonathan. It did not work under Shopee. In fact, the Kolade Committee for Shopee made sure that all the programs failed under Iweala and Jonathan. It was done under Buhari. It did not work. It's not being done under Tinubu. It is not working. The poor are suffering. There are three stakeholders that are involved here: the poor, Dangote and the producers, and the international cabal with the marketers. Every time you increase petrol prices, the international cabal that used to be the people that were responsible for this corrupt looting of this so-called subsidy, they themselves, they are fighting Dangote because Dangote have taken a part of what they used to loot as corruption. Dangote have captured it under its oligopolistic prices. So Dangote and the oil importers and the oil traders, they are fighting. The oil cabal is fighting Dangote because they want to share this corruption subsidy, and the prices is very high and the masses are suffering. So the only thing that will help the masses of Nigerian people is to base the pricing of petrol on production cost, not on import parity. Once you do that, that will affect inflation. And petrol affects everything for the poor. 56% of the income, household income of the poor, is spent on food. When you increase petrol prices, food prices go up. 11% is spent on transportation.
Right.
You increase petrol prices, transportation costs go up. Another 12% is spent on rent and health. So what is happening is that poor people, the country, whether it's to run your generator, to go to the office with Danfo or Molue, no matter what you do, the country is dependent on petrol for moving people and goods. So one of the major contributions to inflation and poverty in Nigeria is the cost of energy. For the speaker, for Bayo, Onanuga, because of politics, to deny what he knows, that for the poor, petrol prices is an integral part of inflationary effect and the reducing of their purchasing power. That is a fact that Bayo knows, and he should not deny that. I think what they should do is reject the whole IMF thing, base the price of petrol on production costs, which means it will be lowered from around 1,175 naira a liter to about 570 naira a liter.
All right, Prof.
Put it on production costs.
I'm sorry, that's all the time we have. Thank you, as always, for speaking with us.